Hey, y'all. It's Juanita Coley, the founder of Solid Rock Consulting, where we help call centers implement technology, optimize the technology that they currently have in place, and build better workforce management teams. I want to welcome you to Call Center Chronicles. Call Center Chronicles is a place for CEOs, call center professionals, tech leaders, and yes, the customer looking to have fun yet thought-provoking conversations around how we improve customer experiences and companies' bottom line. We are on a mission to normalize women in tech and workforce management leadership roles, and we believe that that starts with conversation. Welcome to Call Center Chronicles. Oh, hey, y'all here? Sorry, I'm just adjusting my crown. Y'all know I just won Miss Corporate America, and so I'm super excited about that. So not only am I the Contact Center Whisperer, I am Mrs. Corporate America 2022. Welcome to Call Center Chronicles. Y'all come on in. I'm super excited about this week's episode. We are talking about some amazing things, and I have an amazing guest. So we're just going to hop right in. You know, this series, we have been continuing to talk about the future of work, what that means, what that looks like. That's what season 3 was dedicated to. And season 4, it was just such a great conversation that I got to talk to so many leaders in the contact center space that I was like, we got to continue this conversation because y'all got a lot to say. So without further ado, let's hop into this week's episode. We have the VP of Product, none other than the Laura Basset. Laura, thank you so much for coming over and talking to me from NICE. I'm super excited to have you on the show. Tell me what you've been up to lately. Tell us a little bit more about you and how you got in technology. You know that I am a women in technology and leadership role lover and stalker. So tell me a little bit more about yourself and what you've been up to lately.
Sure. And thank you for having me, and congratulations on your award. You now have earned the crown. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
So yeah, a little bit about me. We're doing some really exciting things at NICE, but I think we'll get into that as the conversation goes on. A little bit of background though, how I landed where I am. I really, I mean, we have all day, right? It all started back in high school. No, in all seriousness, I did graduate college with a technology degree, and found myself doing really coding, right? Application development, but that morphed into working with customers at their businesses, everything from consulting to training, and really ultimately then figured out that I could be with a company that was actually delivering those solutions to the business. Once I understood what the business needed, it was a natural transition to go to the vendors that help them solve those problems. So that's where I made the transition over into the vendor side of things and ultimately the contact center side of things, where I found a real passion for serving the consumer, right? And it's really a way that you can make an impact for a business in making sure that their consumers and their agents are happy.
Now, you said something that I have to step down on because I think this is so great. This is going to take us somewhere so great. But, you know, I'm an advocate for getting women involved and normalizing women in technology and getting women involved through into technology that may not have a traditional role or getting women involved in technology through non-traditional means. You had a very traditional path into technology through coding. And I find that when people think about getting involved in technology, they think that they have to be in coding. They think that they're into technology. How have you seen other people background that has maybe haven't had a traditional background or traditional path to technology vary from yours? And what does that experience look like when you engage with them?
Sure. It helps a lot that I have the technology background, that I'm able to speak the language, right? I've also, I can think about a couple people in my career, both mentors to me and folks who I have been mentors for, where really where they came from was working in the business. I'll give one example where one of the best people that I've worked with over the years actually started in the contact center. She was a supervisor in the contact center and never saw herself really evolving into the technology leadership side of the business, but that morphed for her into a consultative role, right? With NICE actually. And she was able to take that and consult with other people. And through doing that, learn the product, get hands-on with it, ultimately moved in to be a sales engineer and then over into the marketing organization where she can be what I call a translator, right, of the value of the technology to the business, right? So it is a space absolutely where if you have it's the application of that technology, I think that is the real understanding that people need and how it impacts the ultimate outcomes for the business and the consumer.
Yeah, that's so good. And one of the things that you said that, just registered with me is that she had business knowledge. So even though she didn't have a background in technology per se, or coding or any of those things that your background was in, she had the industry knowledge or in the business knowledge, which was a transferable skill. Right. It was a transferable skill that she could then take and leverage in technology. So I love that. And what I love more is that you're able to articulate that, because you understand that while I may have had a background that was in technology, your degree was actually in technology, and you actually have background in coding. I can see the value in someone who has business knowledge and leverage that transferable skill and go into consulting. So I love that.
Right. And the ability to really talk about it, right? And to help other people understand how. I remember early on in my career, just because I had the technology background wasn't necessarily everything I needed. I actually, in one example that I'm thinking of, I was consulting for a software organization at the time, and went into a business. And what I needed to do initially as I walked in that door was train the people there how to use the software that we were delivering to develop their applications. And it was really interesting because I was female, young looking, and I was coming in to train some folks that had maybe been with that business for quite a long time. Right. And what I ran up against was people not believing that I knew what I knew because I looked so young. Right. Wow. And so even if you actually have that technical background, I think there's still barriers that anybody in this business, especially if you are potentially look young. And so what did I do? Right. I took the time to talk with those people and let them get comfortable with me conveying the information to them to a certain point, to where it was, up until it became very distracting to the training class that I was trying to conduct and us staying on schedule, at which point I offered them an opportunity to meet with me after, and I'd be glad to walk through anything from the metadata model to actually how we've applied this in other businesses and what the results are that people have seen. And I think that's really where it comes from, is not getting offended that people can't see you there, but helping them understand why you are and what you can do for them, right? And that's that really, to me, is the key to the path of the success that I've seen, and that, in the other example I gave as well. It's the ability to have those conversations and to help people get on board and let you, be somebody that can help them.
That's good. I heard two things in that. I heard, just because I had the technology background doesn't necessarily mean I had the business background, which could have potentially served as a barrier. But then on the flip side of that, I also heard you had to be an advocate for yourself, that, listen, I know this piece of technology, I know what I'm doing, and stand in that, and make sure that was conveyed. And so it's two different sides of a coin, right? And I think one can serve, it can serve as a barrier for one of them when you say, hey, I know what I'm doing. I'm here. I have the background. I have the experience. Let me do my job. And I think when we have conversations around DE&I, that will lead me down a whole DE&I path, But I think when we have those types of conversations, that's where that really kind of plays in. But yeah, I'm super excited about, so I recently attended Nice Interactions virtually. And then I went out to headquarters and I had so much fun at the event. And a lot of things that they were having conversations around was CXI1. And now I've been around NICE since Total View. It was, Total View and IEX. Well, Total View was I believe the agent platform piece of it. IEX is what we were using in the forecasting department at a company. And I remember it from those days. So tell me at Interactions Live 2022, we were talking a lot about, CXI1. Tell me, what's the difference between NICE or IEX and CXI1?
Yeah. And it's a bridge, right? I mean, when you think about where businesses were, even 5-10 years ago, right? We were consuming software from various vendors. It might have been the contact center pieces for the customer experience from one vendor, the workforce management and forecasting from another, right? That were all best of breed in their space, right? Mm-hmm. And what you've seen NICE do is evolve with the times. And the world has once again changed. But let me take you very quickly through the times. And so when you talk about IEX, fantastic software, but one piece of the puzzle, the agent management piece of the puzzle, for example, right? As you recognized in the forecasting and the scheduling and the workforce management, critical to our businesses. Yeah. But there's the other piece that was the customer piece, the customer experience piece. Also critical, a big differentiator for businesses. What NICE had the vision to do was to bring in both sides of that equation to be really the first vendor to create a fully native cloud contact center application that serviced the needs of the consumer and the agent, having all of the workforce optimization, workforce engagement pieces on a native platform with the customer experience pieces, how do your customers contact your businesses? How do they call? How do they email? Back in the day, it was email and chat, right? Now it's bots and digital engagement. And so really that's what we're talking about. So that was the first evolution that really happened within CCaaS to make it a fully unified platform. Yeah. And we see that world changing again. So I'm going to go through, if you're okay, just a little bit more of that evolution, because we really do. To me, there's two things. Number one, the world has changed, and that's what I'm gonna get to. But customers deserve more, right, from businesses with the way the world has changed. And so that CCaaS that I described, we recognized that was no longer enough, right? And why is it no longer enough? I think it's easiest to understand and define from a consumer perspective. When you're out there and you're shopping for a product or you're looking for help or whatever it is that you're doing, what do you do first, right? No longer do we pick up the phone. I don't. Right? We start with our own research most of the time. And that could be Google, that could be looking for a YouTube video, that whatever it might be, right? And we're not alone in this. Most consumer interactions today start outside of the contact center. What does that mean? Outside of the company's brand. And this is what we recognized as a business, that we needed to help businesses think and be broader, right? Contact center service is the management of that cloud contact center and the interactions that happen there. What about the interactions that we're beginning well outside of that, right? CXI is the reality of where those things happens, and it starts somewhere in the ether. Right.
And so where is that? Like, is it, I'm checking my Amex for the balance and I can't find the customer service number. So I go to Google and say Amex, customer service, like it's on Google. So how are we starting the customer interaction outside of them reaching out to us. I'm super intrigued by this piece.
And it is twofold. If, as a business, we could also reach out if we knew people had the need, and we can be that smart with the data we have today. But let's go to your original question. Where is it starting? I could even take my own example from the other evening with a toy of my son's that had broken, this little electronic toy. Where did I go? I didn't go to the website to fix it. I went to Google to see if I could figure out what was wrong, fix it myself, see if there was some other kind of tech head out there that had disassembled their own product and figured out a way to fix the problem that I had, right? Eventually, I ended up on the website after kind of giving up on that outside universe.
Right.
But it took me then, once I got to the website, and I'm not going to name the product, right? But it took me forever to find a way to contact them directly after perusing every single FAQ that they had where the search wasn't really effective, right? And so that's the life of the consumer. And even after getting to the website, it took me almost 30 minutes to figure out a way that I could contact them. I had to get through all the FAQs to finally find a link to submit my problem, right? Now, what actually did please me in this interaction, they offered for me to text them after hours. I don't know where this person was sitting, and they actually responded, right? But had I gotten to that quicker, 30 minutes of my time saved, I would not have been as frustrated when I got to the person that was texting me. Now, I'm very familiar with their situation on the back end, so I'm not one that's going to kind of take it out on them. But that's where customers arrive frustrated, when they finally get to the fact that they need to speak to someone and it takes them forever to do so. So businesses, yep.
That's so good that you say that, because I recently saw a survey that says what's most important to your customers. And it was the 3 answers that you could pick from. The poll was average handle time, first call resolution, or time in queue. And thinking as a customer, now I knew what the highest number. What do you think everybody picked? What do you think? Average handle time, first call resolution, FCR, or time in queue? What do you think they picked?
Who were we surveying? Customers or businesses?
They were it was a survey on LinkedIn. So, anybody could have answered.
It could be anybody. Yeah. The frustration for the customer to me is the time in queue. Right.
But the answer, that's me and you, right? We think, I said the same thing. That was like 17%. The highest answer was first call resolution. And so I thought, man, are businesses really thinking about this from a customer perspective? Are they thinking about it from a customer perspective? Because while I can understand first call resolution being the top answer, because when I get somebody, I want my answer answered. It's not even first time call resolution for me. It's more so about accuracy. So I don't want you to first call and give me a resolution just to find out that it was inaccurate later, which I've had that happen before. But I think what really frustrates me as a consumer is time in queue. Like I've had to wait, or I've had to search for your number 30 minutes, 45 minutes. By the time I get to you, I'm pissed off. You better
give me that answer fast, right?
You better give me the answer fast. So, and accurate, right? But if I got to you quicker, right? If I was able to say, hey, I'm having this issue, and I get to you as quick as possible, then if you said, hey, I got to research that, let me get back to you, and actually followed up on that, I'm okay as a consumer with that answer. And I think most consumers are, okay with that, because, hey, you had the forethought to make sure that you had enough people staffed to answer my interaction quickly, whether that was phone, email, chat. You had the number posted at the top of your website so I could get to you easily, or whatever the case may be. So now I'm able to save because consumers want to save, humans, right? Let's not even talk about consumers, humans, right? Want to save their time, energy, and spend it on things, especially post-pandemic, on things that they feel are important. So I'm interested. That leads me to my thought around CXI. around in that scenario, right, with the toy, how would CXI been able to help in that scenario where you went to go and, YouTube or Google a fix before you even found the number 30 minutes later on the website?
And it's amazing how simple it is. With CXI and the capabilities that go to meeting your customer where their need occurs, what would have ended up happening is that your proper FAQ knowledge base answer would have appeared at the top of the Google result list. You'd have known that what customers are looking for is a video. You potentially would have had that content in there because you'd have gotten that feedback. When I ended up texting with this guy, I'm like, do you have a video that can show me how to do what you're asking me to do? Right? So you would have known within that customer's language that they actually want to get a video from you to try something on their own, right? And so it literally would have grabbed me out of Google and brought me to you, saving not only the 30 minutes it took me to find you once I got to the website, but the 20 minutes that I spent before that perusing every single, self-made, homemade video out there to find that they weren't addressing my problem. Right?
That's crazy, amazing. So we're kind of talking about like SEO too, right? Like we're talking about the ability, search engine optimization for those that aren't familiar with SEO. For businesses, that's major.
Yeah, and this is truly putting your intelligence, your knowledge out into the world outside of the properties or your own business, right? You're leveraging SEO optimization within your knowledge base to get your answers out there and let you help those consumers. And you know what? I would have been thrilled if that business was smart enough to say, hey, we can help you. Here's the answer. Just go to our website, right? It's funny how it changes your mindset as a consumer that wasn't my first stop. But if you had pulled me there and showed me where I need to be, I'm so okay with that, right? And it's interesting too, because you said something a minute ago that, first of all, the survey. I think it's interesting the questions that were asked on the survey, because things like, as this world evolves and as we think about CXI, is the measure really first call resolution, first contact resolution? Is it time in queue, or is it time spent before you even got to me? Is it time that it took you to respond to me, even though I'm located halfway across the world, right? Handle time becomes a matter of the number of engagements and how long it takes you to respond to me as a business, right? It's no longer just one metric in a phone call. So as businesses, we need to think differently, not only about what we measure, but the way that these customer journeys happen. I like to think of them, they're nonlinear and they are different. My exact same situation. So I'm sitting in my living room in the evening and I've got my laptop in front of me. This is how I can do it. Pick me up and plop me into my car and I'm driving down the road and I remember that I needed to research this. How's my behavior going to change? Right? I have the same problem, but I need to solve it in a different way because it's not advised to browse the web and drive.
Right. We don't want to do that. That's not best practice.
That is not best practice, right? And so it's mix and match experiences, right? I've heard somebody else say, they were looking for an answer and, went to do the research. A company's going to call them back. Well, pick them up and plop them into the middle of a school gymnasium at field day. Well, they're not going to be able to take your call. So give them another way to respond to you, send them a text and say, click here when you're ready, something like that if they don't answer, right? And so leverage the capabilities available to you, based on understanding your consumer.
That is so good. That is so good because, I've never even thought about it like that, in that context, right? That a person who's calling for the same exact thing, just shift their position, right? And their perspective can change on whether or not this is a good customer service interaction. I'm calling about this toy and I'm at home, leisure time, got a glass of wine, I got all the time in the world. You know, get to me when you get to me, right? But I'm I'm on I-4 or I'm in traffic and headed to my next meeting or in the gymnasium, and time is of the essence. Those
and I don't want to, how I'm going to engage with you.
Yeah, that same person is going to interact in each of in those different scenarios differently. That same person.
Right. So tie all this together, right? And think about, so CCAS is the traditional interactions in the contact center. What CXI is that new marketer framework that expands to all the interactions that happen inside or outside of your business, inside or outside of your contact center. But it also takes a shift in understanding the customer's situation and their own ways that they can or cannot communicate, and offering ways to do that. It's no longer a preference of, I like to do this over text. Mm-hmm. It's a situational context need for how I can communicate.
That is good. Yeah, that's really, oh my God, that's a bar right there. You got to say that again, Laura. It's no longer about preference. It's about situational context and need of how I must communicate with my customer or the business, right? It's not about preference.
Right. And I not only I expect that you're going to be able to communicate with me in the way that matches my situation, right?
So this is so good. I told you this was going to happen. I told you if we could start talking about one thing and we go all the way over here and start talking about something. So, okay. So in this scenario, right, where CXI is implemented in an organization, you're typing in, you're Googling about a fix for this toy, right? And it pulls me into now your environment to say, hey, this is where you can get this information from, or this is the phone number. I'm thinking now with my agent hat on, right? Because I used to be an agent.
Yep.
Is this going to populate when I answer this phone call or answer this email or answer this chat of, hey, this is where this is the journey of this customer, where they started from, why they're asking this. Does it give me context around this?
Yep. Great question. And that is a key piece. So CXI is the expansion of the interactions, but it's both sides of the engagement as well, right? And we need, if we're going to up the game and we're going to think about the origination of the customer conversation, don't we think not only should the agents know that as well, but they also need they need their own virtual bot assistant that can help them to find the right answers based on the customer conversation. They need real-time tools that say, look, your customer's a little bit frustrated on the other end right now. You might want to try, twisting the conversation to let them re-explain the problem, right? They need some of this real-time coaching. AI that is available to us today can understand everything from the language used to the voice inflections to, actually combining it with the problem they're being able to resolve. So it changes the game in what we're doing for agents to really, I like to think of it as empowering them. It's not just giving them the tool, it's empowering them to solve the problem, right? There was a business that I worked with a long time ago, and they taught me one very key thing. It's not just the technology. They created a company contact center motto that was basically, and I can't remember the exact words, but the essence of it was, do what it takes to help the customer, right? And that changed the mindset of that employee from I need to get off the phone to I need to really listen to this customer and see if I can help them. And while your talk times may go up to, by 10 seconds, you're also solving twice as many problems the first time because you're empowering the agents to do it.
Oh, this is good. If I wasn't bound by my headset and my mic, I would be up running around the studio right now, Laura, because what I'm thinking about as you're talking is turning agents into executives with the power of AI, the power of assistance. right? And someone just asked me this question the other day, Juanita, do you think that as technology increases and it continues, so many tech, pieces come out and vendors come out that, jobs decrease? And I'm like, actually, no, I think we get more executives. That's what we get, right? So you're turning an agent into an executive because they are empowered to make decisions. They have assistants. Think about the executive suite. Your CEOs, right? Your COOs, your CMOs, they have assistants. Why does the agent who's handling interactions with your customers not have an assistant to say, hey, this is where the interaction started and this is the journey? Right. And this is all that the technology is doing. So imagine when I'm using, I have CXI implemented in my environment, and, you started off on the web with this toy journey, and me, the agent, I'm getting this call and I said, oh, she's Googled this series of toy, this, let's call it, I don't know, let's call it a Tonka toy. Am I dating myself? Right. Hot Wheels. Let's call it a Hot Wheels, right? And, she Googled, because usually when people are trying to find a fix for something, they Google not only that thing, but the model, right? So Hot Wheels 2.0, right? So that customer service agent now sees that, she's calling in or she's texting, she's chatting about Hot Wheels Series 2.0. And this is the answer. And so AI or whatever other pieces of technology that's in play in the infrastructure, right, pops up and says, this is what she's probably dealing with.
Mm-hmm. And if that agent can have an assistant to pull up the frequently asked questions responses, the library of videos that they're probably already familiar with, but why make them spend the time when we've already been saying for 5 years that the customers are smarter than the agents when they get to them? It's because the agents don't know what they've done. And they don't have as much access to information other than in the past, they didn't, right? Other than going and maybe trying to Google it themselves or doing a manual search or whatever it might be. But not only that, then empowering them to contribute to the business. How did you solve the problem? What was the right answer? Can you suggest a way to upgrade the knowledge base for the next time somebody's searching on this, right? And so let them feed the engine, but leverage these tools, these assistants, not only to give them the answers, but then to take some follow-on actions to deliver some information to the customer, right? Things like that.
Yeah. So Laura, I remember at NICE Interactions Live 2022 that one of the main themes was around frictionless CX, right? That was like one of the main themes. And this stuck out to me so much because Barack said, he was saying, that you've reached frictionless CX when your customers are no longer calling in and saying, how can I help you? Instead, and your agents are saying, how can I help you to the customer? But yet the agent is saying, hey, I see that you're calling in, or hey, Ashley, I see you're calling in, or hey, Laura, I see you're calling in about this, Hot Wheel 2.0 series. And these are some of the solutions, because they already saw the question that you Googled, right? They already saw that you Googled about, the Hot Wheels 2.0 series. So they already have so much information on you that they're no longer asking, how can I help you? But rather greeting you, right? Giving you a human experience, greeting you, and then saying, hey, this is how I can help you.
Yep. And in my situation, I can see that you've already gone out there and you've looked through these questions. It's funny. I actually made a comment as I was going through this experience that I was determining how long it was going to take me to have them believe that I went through steps 1, 2, and 3 until they would look up to see if I could mail in the product to get it fixed. And it took about 16 minutes over text for me to get to that point with the employee, because they had to follow their script versus the context of exactly where I came from. I had actually spent so much time on their website, but they didn't know that, right? Imagine if she, I don't know, I was texting, right? and imagine the friction that could have been eliminated by him saying, "Oh, wow, I see you've spent a lot of time. I can tell that you're looking up fixes for this product. Let me show you a few things that are pretty common
Yeah.
with the problem you described," right?
Yeah.
Because I'd
Because then
already described the problem.
the agent goes in, and when that leads me kind of to D&I topics. You guys know, out in the audience, you all know that I talk about D&I a lot. So customer experience, employee experience, D&I, those are my things. I love talking about them. But that makes me think about D&I, and I personally hate, it's with disdain. I think about it with disdain when people reduce D&I to race and gender. This is just my own personal thing, because while those are very important topics, right, around D&I and components, I think of in elements of D&I, we're different in so many different ways. We're different in our backgrounds. We're in experience. We're different in our work experience. We're different in so many different ways. And so when I think about in this instance around frictionless CX, if I know as a agent, right, that, and I can see all of the history of this person has been bounced around from this person to this person. They have Googled this is this is, if I can see all of that information, that allows me to have a different level of empathy, maybe. And it also allows me to pull in my experience for dealing with that interaction. And I think that is how technology is enabling and helping in a component to D&I efforts and initiatives. And I think that we have to also take that into consideration, because one of the other things, again, the various channels that an employee or a customer can be able to reach out to a business on, when we think about chat, email, voice. If I have if I'm a person with a disability, then I can't, if I can't be on a particular channel, what technology is implemented in the infrastructure of a company that allows me to still be my best self, and come up and show up as my best self in the organization. So that made me think of D&I when you said about how you were interacting in that instance.
Via text, right? It's interesting because I actually have a relative that battles with some disability issues, and their stronger way to communicate is via digital or text, right? And they're highly frustrated when they get to a business who just asks them to call, right? They can't hear them, right? And so what is the solve for that? And I really see this, the fact that we as businesses are finally able to not only service but recognize and are beginning to adopt the capabilities of these channels as servicing so much of a larger percentage of the customer population more effectively in the ways they can communicate. So it's even beyond preference for them, it's need. Right. And imagine that I needed it, but text wasn't offered on that website. Right. Or some way for me to actually type and communicate, right? That becomes a limitation for a lot of the consumer population out there. And I think the adoption of the digital channels really enables such a big portion of our population to be able to communicate just like the rest of us, right?
And that's so important, which is why when I'm talking around D&I initiatives to executives, Juanita, what can we do around D&I? I'm like, first of all, you do away with the mural on the wall, right? Like it's beyond the mural of we are a diversity, equity, and inclusion conscious company, right? That's great, but we got to move beyond that. And we have to shift the culture, and we have to shift and create a culture in companies that are thinking about D&I initiatives. And that happens by looking across the organization, even when it comes to your technology infrastructure. Right. That's how we begin to really implement DE&I in organizations. Right. It's not just a HR job. It's not just the executive's job. We have to look across the organization, and that may mean operations. That may mean IT, because again, if we truly want to impact diversity, equity, and inclusion, we have to think about it not only from our customers' perspective of how they reach us, right? But we have to think about it from our employees' perspective as well. Again, we're not talking about customer experience and employee experience. We're talking about human experiences.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
important.
That's great. It's
That's so
very
important.
important. And you make a great point too, where, you know, actually adding this level of care for our consumers, right? That nonlinear journey that they experience, the fact that they deserve better, it parlays into the resources that we're actually able to hire
Yeah.
that are probably better at communicating over some of those channels than you or I are, because that's all they do,
Yeah.
right? And they have the patience for it, you know, and with the right information on the back end and guiding them along the way, that true personalization can happen on any of those channels. You know, we think of it, I think of it as, you know, we're really enabling ourselves to pick up on the blind spots in the journey that we deliver today, or that we don't know that we're not delivering. Might even be, right? You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so now with all of this intelligence really outside of our organization, and then guiding that customer to the response in the way that works for them, is really eliminating those blind spots in the journey for the consumer, right? And whether that is an existing customer that your contact center is trying to service, or if it's a prospect that your marketing organization is looking at, it's the same thing. And you still have those people on the back end that you need to be able to service the needs of that consumer.
And that's when D&I, right, goes beyond just a mural on the wall, right? We're thinking across our organization. We're thinking about human experience and how we show up DE&I in every component of our business, even to the technology that we implement in our organization. So that, of course, my brain went D&I. As soon as you said text, I was like, you know, got a thought there, so,
And that's
okay.
great. And it's something we all need to continue to think about, really, because I love how you put it, just take the mural off the wall. You stamped that stamp, right? But let's make it matter to everybody, no matter what their need is or their difference.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, I told you we were going to get to the bottom of our time, and I was going to be like, where did the time go? We talked about 2 questions. I told you this was going to happen. We just have such great conversation when we get a chance to, when we talk. But listen, I recently saw some TikToks. You guys know I'm on TikTok. I have my Workforce Wendy character on TikTok. If you have not followed me on TikTok, I'm Juanita, the corporate coach on TikTok. Workforce Wendy comes out and makes an appearance every once in a while about these workforce challenges that we're experiencing. Well, anyway, I'm on TikTok and I see Nice has a couple TikToks out. And so woohoo for Nice being on TikTok. I'm excited about that. I got to go and do some duets or something on these TikToks. But I saw one and it resonated with me so deeply because, again, I am a former agent, and it was an agent that was trying to get her shift covered. And she's like, hey, I got to go to this thing. And so she's reaching out to, you got to go and find this TikTok, guys. I'll put the link in the comments or something after the show. But anyway, so she's trying to find somebody to cover a shift. So she's reaching out to this agent. Sorry, love, I got this happening. Reach out to this person. Sorry, love, can't do it. How does CXI or how does the platform help with those type of interactions from a employee experience when we shift from talking about customer experience to employee experience?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's actually one of our cooler solutions that we have for the agents. We have actually given them a mobile app. Right? Where they can really manage their own schedule, right? You need some time off, put it in, the system automatically looks, it's auto approved. It's not like, I like to liken it to, you had to call your supervisor and say, gosh, can I have Tuesday afternoon off? I have a doctor's appointment, all this stuff, and you get nervous about it, right? Well, that shouldn't, if we're thinking of them as executives, shouldn't we let them kind of manage their own schedule and trust that they're going to do the right thing and have them be more dedicated as an employee. But then covering of the shift, same thing on this mobile app. It puts it out to everybody. There's always somebody that wants to pick up more time, more hours, right? Take it out of the belabored human aspect that is the search, right? The manual search. And the software actually empowers that agent to go say, hey, who needs some extra time? I can't work this shift, cover it for me. It is not a bad reflection on the agent. It's them managing their own schedule, managing their own life, and they deserve the opportunity to do that, just like you or I do.
That's so amazing because I'm thinking about when I was a workforce manager. Well, I started, as an analyst when I went into the workforce management department. I started as an analyst. And at the time, we would have to check the attendance line. So people would call in or call out rather to the attendance line. And oh my God, some of the things that I heard, hey, I'm calling, this is such and such, I'm calling out, I got this syndrome happening, and I had a late party last night, and then I'm like, I don't need to know all of that. I don't need to know all that. I just need the name, right? I just need to know the name, supervisor, and what shift you're going to be out for, right? And I think that enables and empowers agents, again, turning agents into CEOs or executives, right? Where they actually can make executive decisions. And we're treating humans and our fellow person with respect and dignity. Hey, you know what you got to do. Right. You're responsible. Exactly. So in giving them the tools to be able to do that. Right. So that's what that TikTok made me think of. I can't wait to go and do some duets to some of these TikToks. Y'all make sure that you follow me at Juanita, the corporate coach on TikTok, because I'm about to have some TikTok fun with these.
I'm going to go look at it for sure. And they are great. You got to find the one of the agent that's trying to have a snack while she's on the line.
Oh, yeah. I saw that one too. That was good. The one that was trying to have the snack. Yeah. The other one that I loved, it was another one where she had been talking on the phone, doing great customer service. And then the one interaction that her supervisor was listening to, she ended up saying, all right, okay, goodbye, love, and that's who she was talking to, how she was talking to the customer. And the supervisor was like, but that was the one interaction that she listened to. And it was like, you have to listen to multiple interactions. We'll go down a whole rabbit hole talking about that.
Oh, we could go on. Yeah. I mean, the one comment I'll make there is there are systems out there that listen to all of them and tell you which ones that, would benefit the agent by using them for coaching. Right. So
I love that. I feel like we gotta have you back on, Laura, for like a part 2 of this. Tell me though, quick, like what's next for NICE? What's next for you in your journey in women in tech and leadership? Where can we find you? Where can we find news and information around what's next around NICE's products?
Sure. So we are always looking for the next thing. You mentioned Barack and the keynote. He is an innovator, and admittedly, he's always got the next idea. So, really what we see next is now we've identified all of these interactions are happening, but now it's up to businesses, to us to help businesses make them connected, make them intelligent, right? Help these businesses actually deliver on that promise that they can engage with those consumers no matter where they are, right? So we're really looking at the next level of that. How do we help businesses leverage that to change the experience, make it human that they're given to the consumer and the agent? And so we'll have a lot of exciting stuff coming. The digital elements just keep building. It's also another key piece that we really need to think about is the intelligence that we can have in the business. And where we're taking that is letting the customer's language drive the intelligence into the experience so that we can understand how they talk about things on their terms. And we're taking that and automatically building it in to what the experience is that's delivered by them, for them, by the automated processes, the super intelligent bots, and by the agents. So it's called listening.
I love it,
Yep.
Laura. Like we talked about some amazing things around, CXI, the difference between IEX, that's what I came from, IEX, and then talking about how that evolution happened with CXI,
How far
turn
we've
it,
come.
yeah, how far we've come with, the product itself and not even the product, but evolving, not for product's sake, but for making sure that we have great customer experience and frictionless environments. And, we talked about one of my favorite things that we talked about is turning agents into executives. That is probably my favorite thing because, I'm all for navigating a non-traditional tech career. And that's the book that I actually have out right now, Ground Up. So I'm super excited about that. And so I love that we got a chance to talk about that. And I'm super excited about these TikToks too that I get to go and duet here soon. So thank you so much for hanging out with me and stopping by. Laura, it has been a pleasure having you. We got to have you back for round two. I'm sure the audience wants
I
to
would
hear
love
from you
to.
more.
I would love to. It's been great. Thank you, Juanita, very much. And thank you for all you're doing for the industry, for the agents. It's great.
Absolutely. Well, hang out with me in the green room. I'm going to wrap the show and I'll be right back with you. What an amazing episode. Like I try so hard. I know I try so hard not to interrupt guests when they're talking. But Laura just was dropping so many gems when she started talking about agents, and how, CXI really kind of brings it, as a layer of an assistant to them. My mind immediately went to turning agents into CEOs, or turning agents into executives. Like, y'all don't take my stuff. Okay. Don't take my stuff. No, I'm just joking. But, I'm super passionate about getting women involved in technology and leadership roles. And I'm super passionate about helping people navigate a non-traditional tech career. So as soon as she said that, and I made the connection around CXI1 and how that helps in that area set, it was over, and so we talked about so many different things. Hey, I want to hear from you. Who should we talk to next? What should we be talking about next? All right, guys, until next time, talk to y'all soon. Juanita Coley, the Contact Center Whisperer, also your Mrs. Corporate America 2022. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.